Hey guys, thank you for hanging out with us. My name is David Cardenas. I'm with Realty One Group Pacific, and I wanted to kind of take a quick moment and share a story with you. As you can see on the other side or to the left or right of me, depending on where you're seeing this, this is my good friend Luke Turner. See what's up, Luke?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Luke is a really good friend of mine. I've known Luke, close to 10 plus years. And I asked Luke to take some time to kind of do this quick interview with us because I wanted to share his story. As you guys know, I'm in real estate. I was a lender for 10 years. And quick story time, when I first met Luke, I met him at a SDAR trade show. I had just gotten into real estate. Most of my time in lending was working with families who were using government loan programs. So it's either FHA or VA. And I'm like, hey, I'm new to real estate, but I need a lender who's solid in VA. I had that in the back of my head, was walking around, and towards the end of the hall, I see this shining light shining down on Luke. And, he's just out there, and I walk up to him. I introduced myself to him, and it's been love ever since.
Absolutely.
Dude, time flies when you're having fun, man.
Man, it does, doesn't it? It does.
So I'm going to ask Luke just to give us a quick background on his story. But first and foremost, Luke is a military veteran. He served in the military. Luke, thank you very much for your service. And this message is specific to our military men and women who served, who are veterans, who are thinking about buying a house here in California, where especially Southern San Diego, or Southern California, San Diego in general, where we know what those budgets and those price points look like. But I think it's important to look at the bigger picture when it comes to using your VA benefit, why you should use it, take advantage of what's available to you. Although, I know sticker shock is a big thing here in San Diego. Luke's story hopefully will give you some motivation to put you in that position to be able to buy a house. So Luke, give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I served in the United States Marine Corps. It was, a great privilege and honor of mine. And I do remember that very specific day when David and I met, because I had just transitioned out of my military career into lending. So new real estate, new lender. We both told each other we knew everything. So it was fantastic. It was kismet, as they would say. When it comes to, my background and kind of what we're going to discuss a little bit here today in regards to utilization of the VA home loan benefit and all of that cool stuff, it started back when I was 24 years old. I was first stationed in Virginia. I bought this little tiny townhome because that's all I needed. I was a single guy. And then I moved out. I got stationed out of Camp Pendleton. And then eventually just transitioned out just due to end of career. And now I'm in lending, I'm in real estate, I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I need to buy another house. And so I bought a house right where I knew, Oceanside, California. I was right next to base. I was about 2 minutes from there. It's where I loved. It was everything that I knew. And what was cool about that experience is, David helped me find a great home up there. It fit perfectly with where I was in the life, and me and the wife together and everything. And again, 100% financing. So I didn't have to put any money down. And because the VA and their great rates and everything, I was able to get that home for roughly what an E5 makes in VH at the time. So that was I was like, well, this is a home run, because no matter what, like, if I have to move out of here, I've got a whole bunch of people that work right next door that can come and rent it out. So I was like, this is a solid move. Loved living there, and everything was great. And then with all things in life, it changed. And my wife gave birth to our first son, so I had to get a little closer down to work. So I sold that house up in Oceanside and bought this big, beautiful home down in San Carlos, if you're familiar with that area. And, we loved it. We raised our kid for a couple of years there. And then a new job opportunity came, took me out to North Carolina. What was really spectacular is when I was able to sell that house, and again, use David and his team to help me both buy the house in Oceanside, sell that, was able to, have enough money to where that big home down in San Diego was really affordable. When I sold that house in San Diego and made that move out to North Carolina, where I am now, To say that I had won the lottery would not be an exaggeration, and not in the sense that I got so lucky and it was awesome, but I had a financial savings, a standing that allowed me to buy. And Dave and I were joking a little bit before this. Now I live in a 5-bedroom house with 3 people, and we have 4 full bathrooms, so we have more bathrooms than we do people here. To kind of talk about it for parents out there that would understand what I'm about to say is I'm sitting in my house right now, quiet and concealed and comfortable, while there's a 4-year-old that just had 3 candy bars.
He's in his safe room right now.
I'm in my safe space right now. There's a 4-year-old sugared up downstairs. He is no pants, no shirt, and he is having a good time. And you guys can't hear him because my house is big enough to keep it quiet. It sounds like I'm bragging, but the reality of the situation is being an East Coast kid originally, small town Virginia, Marine Corps taking me all over the place, landed me out in California, which I love dearly. Buying real estate out there changed the trajectory of not just my life when it comes to financial freedoms and whatnot, but now I have a son that he is in a different life spot than I was at his age, and his kids are going to be in a different life spot. And I would equate that not just a little bit, but a majority to the real estate that I owned, specifically in Southern California. And again, I get it for all you people out there that are from Oklahoma or small town wherever's. You see some of the home prices out there, you say, holy moly, that's expensive.
You get scared. I think, it's a natural, reaction to kind of what we're experiencing there.
And it's completely understandable. What I'd ask for everybody, just because it benefited me so much, and I want to share that story with everybody, is if you can get past it, this is what it cost me today, and replace that with, well, what's it going to be worth when I do move away, if I move away? What is this kind of investment opportunity? And again, it sounds like we're saying all these big words, or I'm saying all these big words of like investing. No, I'm talking about living in a place for a couple of years and then eventually moving out of that place. And then using where you lived to allow you to buy your next place and so on. And so I've done that again. Now I'm on my 4th house. And again, it's 4,000 square feet. Which again, you guys can't hear what's going on downstairs. But again, there's a 4-year-old just wearing underwear bouncing around with a lot of sugar.
So I have a question for you. Before you made your move to Oceanside and you purchased that property in Virginia, what was your thought process when you bought that house in Virginia?
Yeah, so funny enough, I was a 24-year-old kid, single, and I just knew that owning a piece of property was super important. Not that I had any example to look to. My parents never owned their house or anything like that. It was just, I said, hey man, like, I know this is a good idea. And that was really just the seed of it all. And I was like, I need to own a house. Not that I had these grand aspirations of becoming some real estate mogul or anything of that sort, but I just said, this is something I want to own. I want to have my own. I want to have my name on this house. And it was a big point of pride for me. And so that's where it started.
This was before you got into mortgage financing. So were you aware of your VA benefit, what it looked like, how you use it?
Yeah, that's the great joke of that. So I was an active duty Marine, 24 years old. I knew that I had a VA benefit. And when I say that's what I knew, like that's literally all I knew was like I had a VA benefit. Didn't know what it meant. I didn't have any understanding of it. The joke that I tell often is I actually went into the VA hospital to try and get a mortgage for my house because it said the VA on the building. And they're like, that's not what we do here. So I talked to some people and got hooked in with some folks that were able to help me out with that, help me navigate it, so to speak. I'll be honest, that first transaction, as I learned more about how this whole thing works, I look back on that, I'm like, man, I probably should have asked more questions, 1, and then 2, probably should have been guided a little bit more, because half the questions that I know now for other people to ask, I didn't even know myself. So you don't know what you don't know, so to speak.
And from what I understand from those who served, when you're getting ready to transition into civilian life, there are maybe a week or a couple of days that you kind of go through some information. They kind of sit you down to get you ready for the real life. But the learning about your benefit is not part of that conversation, or if it is, it's very Very
It's
minimal. Right?
very minimal at best. You know, the transition classes and all that, they're great, and they do a pretty good job of in a week to get you exposed to a big transition going into the civilian sector. As far as your benefits, you know, everybody kind of talks about it and all this stuff. But there's a lot of information that's either not shared or maybe not well communicated in the military community. At least that's always been my experience. As I've stayed plugged into it and tried to teach more and educate some more folks on that. And so that's why it's really important to find a good trusted advisor on this stuff. Somebody that actually does it for a living. The same regards of, we all have a friend that can fix stuff, and he's like, yeah, let me go fix your car for you. And you're like, yeah, you talk a big game, but you know, you're a
really
professional accountant. Like, so, you know, which is fine, right? And stuff, but it's, you know, ask around. It's going to be real apparent real quick who knows what they're talking about in any aspect, particularly when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, figure it out. Talk to some folks.
The thought process for the people who are watching with us, for even us doing this video, was that, you know, myself and Luke included have helped hundreds of families purchase a property here in San Diego, but there's never really been, at least for myself, a follow-up video or to see how they're doing. You know, we're just talking about the flexes. As soon as you close, you're popping champagne, you got those videos, and that's cool. But for me, the real flex is, what does that look like for you, and what financial position does that put you in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years down the road? And although there are many ways to create income for yourselves, there aren't many ways to truly create generational wealth for yourselves. And what you're talking about, something that's sustainable and substantial, like owning real estate. And again, for those of our friends who are watching this, who are stationed here or have been stationed here in San Diego for a while, and either living on military housing or renting somewhere else just because they feel that it's really out of their reach, there's ways to work it. I know plenty of people have had, you know, brought in roommates or whatever, just different ways, and to be able to create that, because, you know, 2 years or 4 years that you're stationed here in San Diego is going to go by quick, right? But if you're on the tail end of your service, and San Diego's a killer place. I'm born and raised here. I will never leave. But and neither do a lot of people that end up being stationed here. But I know a lot of people that do go back east, and those price points tend to dwindle down. And so being able to purchase a property here, hold on to it, grow some equity, and be able to cash out and move back east, and be able to really put yourself in a position that really no other type of investment vehicle is going to put you into.
You know, it's so true on that. And so we could talk about the sticker shock and all that stuff from, you know, San Diego compared to, you know, maybe a lot of other places, maybe most other places. But I'll say this is the house that I live in now in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is, you know, not the cheapest place in the world, but it's also nowhere near as, quote, expensive as what we're talking about in Southern California. But the house I live in now, if I would not have purchased those homes and lived in them out when I was living out in California, no chance that I'd be able to afford this house today. Like, if this was my first home, or if I was waiting all of those years to buy this house, I wouldn't have been able to save up all that money to buy this house.
Or be able to afford those expensive Panthers tickets that you're buying, that, you know, we know they're doing incredibly well right now.
Yeah. Well, luckily enough, I collected some change outside, so I've got next Sunday's game paid for. You know, $1.22 that it's worth. Still going out there every week, though.
Let's go Panthers.
Yeah, but the beauty of where I live now, and what's really cool about this, when I pull myself back, and it's pretty special to think about, is, one, I wouldn't have been able to buy this house if I had just saved my, you know, rented an apartment and saved my extra cash. But because I own those homes, one, I got to buy this house. And because I own those homes, when I sold, I was able to buy this house. And now my mortgage payment is less than what I collect on a residual income from a disability check. So I never have to work again, and I still get to live in this house. Just a couple homes and a couple steps, and choosing to buy versus rent put me in a position now where I could be my forever home. And I don't have to work to afford it anymore, because it's been paid for by my previous houses.
Yeah. I mean, that's that ladder that we talk about for those people who are just getting into the game. And Again, I understand what we're dealing with right now, especially in the San Diego market, but be it veteran, military veteran or not, civilian such as myself, if you can get your foot in the door somehow, buy something small. If you don't, if you can make it work and you get yourself in, and after 2 years, you're able to kind of jump up and get into that next level and slowly but surely start making your way up. That's truly the only way that you're going to do it. You don't, respectfully, most people don't buy their forever home second, third time around, right? And it takes a while. So you have to take that time to be able to strategize, put a plan in place, and know where you want to be at. Where, as I mentioned earlier, 2, 4, 6 years goes by in a flash, man.
Yeah, it really does. And you think about it all the time. Like, how many times have we been renting an apartment? You're like, man, this apartment stinks. I'm going to go rent that place. We don't think twice about moving out of this one or moving into that one. As far as like, what is it going to take to move? Because it seems so transient. But and the reality is, like what you said, is homeownership has also, it's not as forever. It's not we're not in the 1950s where you buy your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you got your 1 car in the garage, and you buy one house and you live in it for 100 years like our grandparents did. It's, you buy it, you live in it for a couple of years. I think it's the statistics still out there, like 5 to 7 years, somewhere around that for first-time home ownership. You live in it, it fits your needs. It's that apartment, so to speak, in the sense that it fits what you need. But the difference is when you move out of that apartment, you just don't get your security deposit back, versus when you leave that house and all of a sudden you're like, okay, so now what? And you have choices to make. Not just that you have options, but you actually are in a position to make a choice. Do I want a 2-car garage? Do I want a pool? And that's a cool position to be in. I know when we moved out here, it was like, dang, like I feel kind of fancy about things. And I'm not that, I'm nobody cool. So for me to have to be in a place where I'm like, do I want a pool? And actually have a real conversation about that versus, buy my next lottery ticket and thinking about how the next I'm going to buy a Ferrari. But I'm actually having real conversations with real people about whether or not I want a pool, and that's pretty neat. And again, it came from buying a house, actually 2 of them in California, buying that first one.
So don't take it from me. Although I'm gonna be the first one with carrying that banner talking about, right now is the time to buy. Or let me take that back. If you can afford it, if it makes sense to your budget currently at this time, and I'm certain I'm going to hear a lot of people saying, yeah, but interest rates, and I completely understand, and we've all been going through this. Granted, and luckily for us, I believe we're going to be coming. We're on the other side of that hill, so slowly starting to click down to where hopefully that might open up more doors. But still, regardless of the fact, it's easier said than done. But I would behoove you to focus on payment versus rate. And if it makes sense to you, if you can financially afford to get into a home where if you have to tighten your belt over here, but you're able to comfortably make this payment over here, get in, get your foot in the door. Because I can almost guarantee you that as soon as rates continue to dwindle down, it's all supply and demand. There's very little supply. There is a lot of pent up demand. And as soon as those rates come lower, we're going to have a lot more people coming out searching for homes.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd offer, just because I've bought a couple houses now, is don't overstress about the things that you wish you could have or you want, or it's got to be perfect. It's got to be that. Here's the other side of home ownership is you don't always know what you don't know, in the sense of my very first house, I didn't have a garage, but I had a motorcycle, and I said, well, shoot, I'm never going to buy another house without a garage. And so I learned that. And then the next one, I was like, you know what? I'm never buying another house without having a pantry. When all of a sudden you see you got like 4 cereal boxes on the countertop, and you're like, what? Dang it, I didn't even think about that. Like I didn't know until I moved in there, right? And now, there's always something.
Kick the tires, right?
You got to kick the tires a little bit. You got to be open to saying, like, yeah, it's good enough for right now, and that's okay that it's good enough just for right now, because it's not meant to be forever, and that's okay. It is going to be that vehicle. The first one's going to be the vehicle that takes you to the second one, and the second one's going to be the vehicle that takes you to that third, fourth, however many you go down the road. And again, your life and your opinions, all that stuff's going to change. 24-year-old Luke Turner, I was like, I had a balcony, and I just had these visions that I was going to like listen to music and drink coffee out there. I literally never used it one time. And now I'm the grown up, and I've got a wife and I've got a kid. And I'm like, I need a place where I can hide just a room full of toys. And so that's a priority in my life now, which 10 years ago, 15 years ago, never would have crossed my mind.
Right.
So as you grow, your house is going to grow, your opinions are going to change. But you're never going to get to a place where you've got it all figured out and you've got enough money in your pocket to achieve it without taking some of those first steps.
No doubt. No doubt. I just wanted to kind of really take this message, just going to talk a little bit about Luke's story. I think it's an incredible story. I want more people to hear what that did for him and his family, and how he set his family up, God willing. And I know for a fact, not just through his son, but multiple generations from there on out first. And how cool is that to know that, you know, your parent, you come from great parents, but knowing that you had a hand in being able to set up your future Turners down the road, right? So
you tell you what, man, and let's never shy away from how cool that is to be like, you know what, family, like, I did something. It's okay to be proud of yourself for doing that.
Your portrait above the fireplace.
Yeah, I'm really hoping so. I'm probably going to hire somebody to come out there. We're going to include you guys too, though. So
let's go, dude. Luke, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate your time. I'm gonna continue to kind of do these types of videos with other clients who I haven't spoken to in a while, just because I think it's important for people to hear what that looks like down the road, and how real estate has set them up and their family up for future generations. And with that said, I mean, Luke, thank you for being my first victim. I mean, my first listening up on these videos, but thank you so much. And I appreciate your time.
Happy to, man. It was good seeing you, and everybody really appreciate your time.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.
Later, guys.